We are in a place in our country's history when we are redefining our narrative.
I mean, I look at the demography of the majority of students right now, or the majority of people in the United States under 18 being of color. I think about all the obstacles still left to kind of get into higher education, to be successful there, to graduate, to become leaders.
The reality that the average student, and family is responsible for $30,000 of debt associated with their higher education. This is having a real impact. I can't afford it. If I do afford it, I'm overwhelmed. I mean, what is the impact of that to be not only civic agents, but whole, healthy human beings? We have to present new models and new ways of thinking about what it means to attend to access and diversity and inclusion.
A lot of people in Imagining America's network cite as a key principle the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, which actually links culture to being a human right. For communities, culture can be a source of power, of helping communities solve their own problems.
And I think Imagining America is at a particularly interesting and ripe moment to assert arts, humanities, and design thinking as a way to get to the heart of the crisis that we all find ourselves in, locally, nationally, and globally, politically, socially, economically.
These are huge issues for the country, and I think, again, we have to imagine a different America.
The organization as a whole is really looking at how do we bring together faculty, students from different disciplines with community organizations to kind of co-create something, whether it's an artistic production or engaged scholarship in a publication. How do we do something together for mutual benefit that moves community organizing and community change forward?
There's a tension that organizers are always working, and that's the tension between the world as it is and the world as it ought to be. Well, the story of now is a story that helps us see and feel that tension. We can see that the world as it is, the story of now, is not the same thing as the world we'd like it to be. So therefore, we're called to act.
They keep on rambling on, but they took my self-direction. The messages they're beaming at me feed my disaffection. Frustration is killing me. I need to be free. Oh, and the people stop and they cool my brow while they say, change is gonna come. Change is gonna come.
Welcome everyone to Imagining America's 13th National Conference. What I really like about this conference is it's a call to action. So it's a call to action on these values that we all share.
So I think the real principle that we've tried to call into action in the work in Syracuse has really been about how do you collect around the table enough difference that creativity really gets produced and you get something done. And how do we become humble in that process? Because we're so trained to be such experts on everything.
What many Western minds think of as quaint, Indians dancing with feathers. There's a principle behind that. And that's to understand nature. People ask me, well, what is it that vexes you? What is your problem? And I said, well, how do you instruct 7 billion people as to their relationship to the earth? 7 billion.
We really need a better intellectual understanding of changes in the economy. We could probably talk about changes in culture as well, to really think about policy initiatives. You know, if in fact the big issues are big issues and it's big structural inequality and power, what are the kinds of social policies that we think we need to be advocating for, and then to advocate for them?
I want to lift up organizing as a supplement that's different than action. In fact, organizing is not mobilizing. It's not people out in the streets in a protest mode. It's the patient, slow development of relationships that build power. This is actually an extraordinary pioneering step for Imagining America to be bringing in organizing methods through which people in higher education and connected to the world can make our work more public.
Part of that work is academic. It's producing knowledge and theory and writings, but the most substantial part of that work is actually building relationships, organizing opportunities for people to understand what they're facing, to come together to share their values and experiences, and then to try to make the changes that will help advance their values and their ideals. That work is organizing work.
It is about the whole notion of letting the imagination lead us and not just the tracks that are there before us.
And so the conference is one place, the place, that the National Network gets to come together and do that imagining together.